Good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna try to speak a little louder in this video because I always tell myself I'm gonna do that and I never really end up doing it. So today I've been really wanting to talk to you about this Maranta Lemon Lime plant that I've been having in my house for a good at least few months now. Really, I think since just before Christmas time. And as you can see, it's just absolutely wonderful. I really haven't had not a single issue with it as far as pests or dry foliage or anything like that. And if you can believe it, I actually only got it for $12 for a 6-inch pot. I've seen some go as far as like $35, almost like $40 on like Etsy and things like that. And I don't know, like I've always said in the past, maybe it comes with like a cute pot or something. But I mean, even at the kind of more pricey nursery here in town, this was $12. Given that this is Florida, so keep that in mind, but still, hopefully in your local nurseries or I guess big box store, if you have to, this should come at a little bit more of an affordable price than maybe some of the kind of higher prices that one has been seeing online. But again, this is a prayer plant. It is absolutely wonderful. It's naturally more of a ground cover. In its natural state. You can see just how striking the foliage is in the middle ones. Kind of just doing a little rotation. There's not too many varieties of Marantas. They really just have like this one has that, the lemon lime green veins that you could see running through it. There is one that has like red veins also running through it, and some that have just, slightly different color variations, but there's really not too much variety, or at least not commonly, commonly grown varieties and variations of Maranta. With that being said though, I would recommend this as like an entry-level prayer plant if you kind of want to start getting into Calatheas and Marantas, Stromanthe, all of those, just because I think this is the most beginner friendly. If you want to propagate it, you can really just cut off at a node here. Really any of these, like kind of where it starts to angle off like this. I'm trying to find one right here. This would be like a good spot pretty much to like cut off and stick that into water, and you would have some roots growing. There it might be like a spot, like right where all the stems come off. You almost would be able to see it if I could get the camera angle right, but I don't want to contort too weirdly or anything. But it does almost get like aerial nodes, I guess, if it was a little bit more humid in the environment that I was keeping it. But still, you could pretty clearly see where you could kind of chop it up a little bit if you ever wanted some plant insurance, just in case you do happen to make some kind of mistakes or learning lessons when acquiring one of these. They propagate really easily in water. They also propagate very pretty readily just putting it, in some, potted soil. You want to have it, if you're gonna have it in a container, which is pretty much the most common application of prayer plants, you're gonna want it in a soil that does retain moisture, because they are moisture loving, and they're not, the easiest to overwater, so that's another good beginning tip. But yeah, you could pretty much get away with watering it and kind of should feel encouraged to water it just about every day, every other day. You don't really want to let it dry out, even though this is, of the prayer plants, I would say this is the one that gives you the most noticeable and kind of forgiving signs of dryness. You'll see like the leaves kind of, starting to curl up on the edges, kind of start looking like that and kind of dry off, maybe any brown edging. But I must say I actually have this like in the spare room, which is where I'm filming right now, and occasionally sometimes I'll bounce it into my my bedroom if I kind of want to appreciate it. But it's just not fussy at all. You just want to give it bright, indirect light. I've even had it in office settings back in Texas, and it did fine in the office as well. I've even propagated it in the office, like I had a cutting, because everybody wanted propagations at this old company that I used to work for, so I would cut some and I would leave some in a little water vase or cup in the like break room, and it was office lighting and just like one door to the outside. that it was kept like 8 feet away from where the coffee would be. So, you know, it just got the bright indirect lighting from like the glass door and, you know, some ambient lighting, I guess, from the office. And I mean, roots grew, new foliage grew while it was propagating, so you could definitely propagate this very easily, which is not always said about all prayer plants. Like calatheas, you're going to want to like root divide it and things like that. So as far as prayer plants that you could easily propagate, this would be one. Let me double check. Yeah, you could kind of see it on this one right along here. It almost looks like there's like little bumps. That's where, like, if you were to stick it in water or in soil or have it in a place where the humidity was really nice, aerial roots would probably start to grow, or if you were propagating it, some roots would likely grow there. But that's what one calls a node, if one is kind of more of a beginner gardener. But this does absolutely amazingly, like wonderfully in container arrangements, which I'm still trying to get into this year. It's just containers are expensive to find, like nice big ones that can house, like, you know, multiple plants that you could put like a nice little recipe, like a plant recipe in. But I have a friend in the area who she does little container gardening. She's like a container designer at one of the nurseries. And when I first saw her application, like when I first met her and I saw some of her work and she started designing at the nursery, she's still kind of new. But once I've started seeing some of the work that she publishes, like she'll put this like in the, you know, at the bottom, you know, a ground layer kind of plant, kind of like it does in the wild. And it just looks so wonderful. You compare it so well with other plants, and it's just a nice accent plant to kind of have in a container. Back in Texas, believe it or not, I actually did get this to flower. It is a very dainty flower. It was very hard to photograph, so I didn't get any good pictures or anything. So it just lives on in my mind as a memory. But sometimes, you know, that's how the most beautiful things go. There goes my little puppy. But so you do want to be cautious though with prayer plants in general, which is why this isn't like, you know, prayer plants in general aren't the most beginner-friendly plant, but this is one that I would say is introductory of the prayer plants. But just because in general you do want to keep in mind that a lot of prayer plants are prone to pests if you were to kind of let it dry out a little too much and not kind of keep it consistently moist and watered like it kind of prefers. You know, when it gets a little too dry and stressed out, that does attract pests. This can be a little bit more prone to spider mites. So, of course, to remedy that, I would definitely recommend, you know, pretty consistent watering and checking the soil, not letting it get too dry and stressed. Also, kind of facilitating or simulating, I guess, whatever the word is, kind of like rain and just like giving it a little shower. If you want to put it in your shower, if you can somehow have like if you have a nozzle that changes settings and you can kind of like spray it and mist off, you know, any dust, any potential pests that you haven't seen yet, that you could kind of just like pressure wash off, if that makes sense. That really helps and goes a long way, and just, you know, kind of consistently keeping these plants clean and pest free. They'll just really thank you for it. This is also a good plant to kind of get familiar with and learn and even just watch. I kind of like watching. Bottom watering. You can see I have this little plastic container, and maybe if I even angle it right, you can kind of see some of the roots starting to poke out. So that's one benefit of bottom watering, is that it really encourages roots to kind of establish and kind of go down into the soil and get stronger as they kind of search for the water and kind of drink up the water, instead of just, because some people, especially in beginner gardeners, only water like the little bit of topsoil, and then some of the roots will really only just grow there, especially in succulents. So you want to try to, when you do water, do really thorough waterings, so that the roots can be encouraged to grow all the way down and kind of all around into the soil on the sides, not just kind of shallow. So let me check my other notes, because I really like this plant and I kind of want to make sure not to forget anything. Again, like I said, it's not really too easy to overwater, which is sometimes the more common mistake with beginner gardeners is that some people just have a little bit of a heavier hand with watering. So if that is something that you kind of have an issue with, you know, maybe gravitate towards calatheas, and you can definitely have a plant that enjoys the more moist environment. And you know, you can also kind of be encouraged to bottom water and start kind of learning how much at different stages a plant will drink up, if that makes any sense. And I hope it's alright that I'm kind of featuring this. I don't really care if it's like in my face or anything. It's just so pretty. I want to make sure y'all can kind of get it from all little angles that y'all want to see it in. And you'll kind of notice that the leaves are a little bit down at the moment. It's because I actually keep it something that's about maybe 3 feet high. So, and I mean, it is kind of by a bigger window, getting indirect light, of course, but if it was like on the ground, it would be kind of, you know, more reaching up and, you know, a little more prayer plant-esque, kind of like how calatheas, I don't know. But all prayer plants always change with the sun and kind of the direction of the sun that they're getting anyways. So luckily it still is getting top light, which can be an issue if some people put their plants a little too high up. You'll kind of see them kind of growing from the sides or kind of growing almost down, and they'll be kind of bald on the top. So do keep in mind that you want to have pretty good ambient light from all directions for a plant like this. Also, I find these to be pretty pet safe. They're not really toxic or anything, and I would also label it as tolerant to pets. And by that, I would say, like, I keep this by the cat tower, and the cat does occasionally rub up on it, but you can see it's kind of forgiving. It's not really gonna break too easily. It's not too dainty, so you can kind of rub up on it, and it's gonna be fine. So it is one of what I would call one of the cat's plants. All of my pets are spoiled, if you haven't noticed. I think that just about wraps up all of my notes with it. I wanted to go ahead and thank y'all for checking out these videos. I hope this one wasn't a little too long. I could talk about prayer plants and just plants in general all day, and I haven't even like really blabbed too much about personal tangents in this video. So hope that one was alright. I hope the audio is better. I hope I'm not also like screaming or anything, because I do like to, and I usually kind of keep my voice low. I'm not like that loud of a person or anything. So I hope y'all have a good day. I'll be back with more exciting plant videos. Bye.